Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Brian's Horror Corner, or welcome if you're new to my channel. Either way, make sure you hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. It would really help me out. So, we're going to continue, of course, with the Leprechaun franchise. And we're going back to the hood, believe it or not. Just when you thought it was safe, we're going back to the hood. And of course, once again, we are here, right here, Leprechaun Back to the Hood, as part of this 7 film Blu-ray collection that I have here. So yeah, we're getting there. We're almost there to the end. So Leprechaun Back to the Hood from 2003. Let's go ahead and talk about it. So Leprechaun Back to the Hood, THA, also known as Leprechaun 6, is a 2003 American black comedy horror film written and directed by Stephen. I'm gonna butcher this name. Aramlu, Aramlu, we'll go with it, and a standalone sequel to Leprechaun in the Hood with no returning characters or references made to that film. Well, that's not a problem. That's like every film in this franchise. There's no references to any of the previous films, so that's right on par. It is the sixth installment in the Leprechaun series, and as of 2024, it's the last entry to star Warwick Davis in the title role. The film has the villainous leprechaun rampaging through the urban area and killing anyone in his path while looking for his gold, which was stolen by a group of youths who are using it to fulfill their wildest dreams. It is the first film in the series to be released by Lionsgate. So, an animated prologue narrated by the clairvoyant Esmeralda explains the origins of leprechauns. In ancient times, many of them were summoned by the ancient king to protect his gold. After the king's death, the leprechauns returned to their places of origin, all except one, who became corrupted through the ages and obsessed with the gold he still guarded. In the present, Los Angeles, Pastor Father Jacob finds the gold and intends to use it to finance the building of a youth center. After a struggle, Jacob banishes the leprechaun by splashing him with holy water laced with 4 leaf clovers, summoning demonic hands to drag him underground, but he dies because of his injuries. 1 year later, friends Emily Woodrow, Lisa Duncan, and their fortune told by Esmeralda, who warns them they will soon attain great wealth, but it must be denied as it will come at a great price and summon a terrible evil. At a barbecue at the abandoned youth center site with Lisa's stoner friend Jamie Davis and ex-boyfriend turned drug dealer Rory Jackson, Emily falls through a hole and discovers the leprechaun's gold hidden by Father Jacob. Gee, I wonder what's going to happen from there. As far as the cast goes, we have Warwick Davis as Loved in the Leprechaun, Tangi Miller as Emily Woodrow, Laz Alonso as Rory Jackson, Paige Kennedy as Jamie Davis, Sherry Jackson as Lisa Duncan, and Donzalee Abernathy as Esmeralda. So yeah, that's the setup, the premise, and the cast for the 2003 movie Back to the Hood. I can't pronounce it, I'm sure, the way that it's supposed to be. Back to the. Back to the Hood from 2003. I don't really have too much to say about this movie. I'm kind of at the point in this franchise where the positives are being repeated, the negatives are being repeated, and this movie's really no exception. It's just wash, rinse, repeat to a large extent. So let's start with the pros. And the one thing that I did like that I thought was different was the look of the leprechaun in this movie. I like the look a bit more. It's a little different than the previous movies. It almost has a darker, more withered and tattered look of his clothing. Not quite as shiny, quite as green. It almost makes him look a little darker, a little bit more evil, even though he's really not in this movie because of the storyline and the comedy aspects. But I do like the look of Leprechaun. That worked for me better in this movie. I also felt like the comedy aspect hit a bit better for me in this movie than the last movie, Leprechaun in the Hood, or even some of the other previous movies where the comedy was kind of up and down at best. I'm not saying it all works in this movie, but I did feel the comedy aspect a bit better in this movie, taking advantage of this in the hood setting and all that goes along with it to play off the leprechaun. You know, like smoking bongs and bouncy cars, the way that they're constructed, and everything that just kind of goes along with a lot of the caricatures of what we come to know or have forced down our throat having to do with the hood. So, but the comedy did work for me a little bit better in that regard. So that's another pro I can say about this movie. The kills were pretty good, and maybe not quite as good as the last movie, but they had a fair amount of blood and gore. I especially like the cop that got his leg ripped off, and kind of the way they did that. Not so much that he got his leg ripped off, but they have kind of a quick flash cut, and all of a sudden Leprechaun's standing there with his leg, and then they go to the cop, and he's standing on one leg. I just thought that was well done from a visual standpoint. So the kills are decent once again. Nothing great, nothing that's going to make me want to watch this movie again anytime soon. But and then I'll finally say that the main character of Tangi Miller, who played Emily Woodrow, she's pretty easy on the eyes. I thought she was a pretty cute lead. Now, unfortunately, her character was not interesting, and the acting in this movie was not great. And we'll get more into that in the cons. But I wanted to point out that I thought she was quite attractive. As far as cons go, same old recycled storyline. We're back to the Leprechaun's gold is stolen by a bunch of people. In this movie, I will say it's interesting how they actually use the gold for their own benefit. That was kind of fun to see to a certain extent. It's kind of a montage of them spending the gold on things that they really want. But it's the same recycled storyline that we've seen about two or three times in this franchise already. Leprechaun goes after those that are responsible that stole his gold. The characters overall are forgettable, to say the least. Caricatures at their finest, especially the character of Rory and Jamie. Jamie is the stoner comedy relief character. Then you have Sherry Jackson, who plays Lisa Duncan, who's kind of the hoe, if you will. Their words, not mine. Tangi Miller, who plays Emily, is a pretty forgettable lead. Doesn't really do a lot. She's just boring. A lot of these characters are caricatures. Rory is sort of the person that everybody hates, both the old gang that he was with and the good people that he was with. We have no sympathy for him, or we don't really care. And then you have Esmeralda, this fortune teller who just kind of comes out of nowhere and actually gets in a magic fight, like a magic duel with Leprechaun, which was pretty ridiculous. Yeah, the characters are terrible, just like most of the movies in this franchise. I also didn't like the editing or scene transitions that they had, particularly in this movie, where they kind of circle to the next scene, or they have sort of the comic style page flip to the next scene. That just made it look cheap and cheesy, really silly as well. The magic of duel that I was talking about, the effects of that are really bad and cheesy. It's a ridiculous idea to begin with because, for one thing, unlike the last movie where Leprechaun uses his magic powers to kill just about everybody easily, in this movie he hardly uses any magical powers other than when he has this sort of duel with Esmeralda. Otherwise, it's him using his bare hand and breaking through doors and absolutely no carryover from the last movie as it relates to Leprechaun's abilities. But again, that's kind of the same with the whole franchise is like that. In one movie, he's like the most powerful leprechaun you've ever seen. In the next movie, like this one, he's getting knocked around and hit. I think every character in this movie takes some shots at Leprechaun. Yeah, they do, and knock him around and hit him and make him look foolish. Has a little bit of Halloween Resurrection vibes going on. The only difference is that franchise wasn't quite as ridiculous as this one was, so that movie was worse because they did a complete 180 in that franchise. Where in this franchise, it's really not that big of a fall from the tree, if you will. So yeah, that's really all I've got for this movie. Like I said, this is going to be a shorter review because it's really just talking about the same pros and the same cons in a different movie. 6 out of 10. That's my rating for Leprechaun Back to the Hood from 2003. 6 out of 10. Is it the worst movie in the franchise? You'll have to tune in next week to find out. Actually, not next week, about 10 days from now when I have my ranking of this franchise. We still have two movies, mercifully, to get through that I have to review that I know they don't have Warwick Davis in them, so I don't know if they're going to have a more serious tone. I know one Origins kind of tries to reboot the series, and I don't think that was successful. And then Leprechaun Returns, I think, is a sequel to the first movie. So that'll be interesting to see where they go. My expectations are not high. But 6 out of 10 for Leprechaun Back to the Hood from 2003. Please like this video, hit the little notification bell, and subscribe to my channel, as I mentioned earlier, if you haven't already, so you don't miss any of my upcoming reviews for this series, or as I get back into my 1980s horror series. Please comment down below any thoughts you have about Leprechaun Back to the Hood from 2003. I do hope you're enjoying this review series, even though for me it's been a bit of a grind to get through, especially at this point of the franchise. But with that being said, hope everybody had a good St. Patrick's Day, a good month of March. But as always, stay scared. Bye.